Roar! The deafening cry of the rapturous crowd echo through this magnificent arena. You are a gladiator, staring into the eyes of a fearsome lion. The crowd cheers louder as you unsheath your silver sword and plunge it straight into the heart of the beast. You live to see another fight in the Roman Colosseum. Stepping onto the hallowed ground of that ancient arena was a moment I shall never forget. Going to Rome with my family was an incredible experience, far and away the most wonderful I've ever had. Yet, visiting Rome meant so much more than just a holiday. It was the culmination of my family's move to Monaco. We were the gladiators. We left everything we knew behind. Our friends, our family, our home. We learned to face our own lions, create a new life, and set sail into uncharted waters. It was hard going to Monaco and starting this completely new school at the end of the year. It was hard trying to understand this foreign French language. And I walked through those school halls the same way a gladiator would, waiting for that final blow as thumbs pointed down. But I survived with grit and resilience. The blows may not have been physical, but the fear was real. However, I look back now and realize, at times, just like there were jesters at our Colosseum, life in Monaco can be a lot like a circus. A circus filled with wonderful opportunities that can dazzle and blind. But at first, I didn't realize this. For the first 2 years I was here, I just wanted to go home. Imagine how out of place I felt. I had gone from being a wild island child in the Bahamas to living in Sydney, and now I was bundled off in a plane to this weird city called Monaco. I was so homesick, I didn't think it could get any worse. But sometimes, the loneliest time is when you are surrounded by people. This is how I felt when my grandmother came to visit. I just knew what I was missing. I felt so strongly that I didn't want to be in Monaco. Crazy, right? But that feeling vanished. Not exactly. It faded away, day by day, little by little. I had found my place. I wasn't as alone as I thought. In fact, in reality, I was surrounded by so many friends. Some of them had even gone through the same thing I did when they moved here. When you realize you are surrounded by kind people who really get you, it's really quite hard to stay alone or disconnected. By far the most important thing I have learnt throughout my short yet eventful life is that hard work, positive thinking, and surrounding yourself with good, influential people is the only way and the best way to succeed. This man, Nelson Mandela, is a perfect example of a hopeful hard worker. He was so influential. He shaped and changed the world that we live in today. Yet, it wasn't always like this. He, at first, lived in a world where not everyone was equal. Mandela suffered 27 long, hard years in prison just for standing up for what was right. And if that wasn't enough, he had to mine for limestone, which gave him recurrent respiratory problems and harmed his eyes. This cruelty, the thought that you may never see freedom again, wouldn't that be enough to completely squash your spirit? Well, it did not hinder Mandela's. And thanks to his strength of will and belief that he was fighting for the right cause, which he was, we are now able to live in a better, more righteous world. This was very good for Mandela, who, after he was released, published his own autobiography, Long Walk to Freedom, won a Nobel Peace Prize, and finally became South Africa's first black president. That just shows you what wondrous things humanity can achieve, only if they set their mind to it. So just remember, no matter what life throws at you, whether it be a lion, inequality, or even just adjusting to life on the other side of the planet, you know you have the strength to face it. You are strong because it is largely your attitude that determines your altitude. You can wish it for a better life. Dream it for opportunities that reach for the stars. But it's the little steps throughout the day that we do, even when it feels overwhelming, even when it feels impossible, even when it feels as if you don't have the strength or will to face another moment. This is the only thing that makes those wishes and dreams become a reality. Success doesn't have to be climbing Mount Everest. Success doesn't have to be facing lions in an arena. Success doesn't have to be becoming a president. Success can simply be the feeling of being at peace with what you have.